Hi, everybody. This is Advocate Lucinda, your empowerment lawyer. Well, today I want to talk about the elephant in the room. If you are a pro se litigant and you receive defendant's motion to dismiss, defendant's motion for summary judgment, or even the defendant's response to your appellate brief, you know those documents can be overwhelming. And even responding to them could be almost insurmountable. And today, I want to talk about how to respond to defendants' motions and briefs one bite at a time. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the South African Nobel Peace Prize recipient for working in ending apartheid, said this: there is only one way to eat an elephant, a bite at a time. I want to share with you an approach that I take when responding to these documents because the approach helps me stay in command. So let's get started. When I receive the document, depending on what time of the day I receive it, and I receive it through the internet. If it's the end of the day, I'll wait the next morning. But at any rate, I peruse the brief or the motion because it gives me a perspective of what to expect. Then the next day, I come back and read the document from the beginning, line by line. You cannot afford to skim through these documents. They need to be read word by word, line by line. What I am doing is writing my response as I read, and I write or type my notes in the inline of the defendant's document. For every line that needs to be refuted, I refute it right then and there. For example, if the defendant state that are not consistent with my facts, I write the correct facts in the inline of the defendant's document and I highlight them in a color so that they can be visible to me at the end of my dissecting this document because I am going to eventually put those corrections, state those corrections in the body of my response. For every law that needs to be refute it right then and there. I research the law right then and there. And I write my notes again in the inline of the defendant's document. Once I have dissected the elephant line by line, word by word, and inserted my response or responses in the inline of the defendant's document, I am ready to write my full response. So mirroring should be easy. We've talked about this. I have to keep saying this. Mirror the defendant procedurally because it helps the plaintiff stay on track and not deviate from the defendant's assertions. And mirror the defendant substantively, but in the reverse. The plaintiff wants to refute the defendant in the areas where the defendant is incorrect. And be careful about going down rabbit holes. But one thing about it, if the plaintiff dissects the document line upon line, every word, read the law, he or she will not go down that rabbit hole because they will be able to recognize it as a rabbit hole. An example of going down the rabbit hole, let's say the defendant addresses an issue in the brief or the motion, but that issue is no longer an issue or of any relevance to the plaintiff in making his or her case. Addressing that issue would be going down a rabbit hole. I have a few other tips for you. When responding to these motions or briefs, I set aside a block of hours each day, and I work each day consistently those hours. Now, I understand that everybody is different, but it's best as you can set aside a block of hours each day and get a schedule where you can be consistent with those hours so that you can be totally focused on your response. I get up every day like I am going to work at somebody's job. I arrive on time at my desk. I take breaks when I need to. And after I complete my hours, I pack up and lock the computer. And tomorrow I start again. And you know what? Tomorrow I really am refreshed and ready to go. Whatever approach you take, please do not attempt to write your response until you have completely and fully dissected the defendant's document because it's going to give you assurance and confidence. Two things that you'll need to get this done. You can do this. I trust this has been helpful to you. I am Advocate Lucinda, and what do we say? Be empowered.